This conference will now be recorded.
In the last session, we talked about basic accounting cycle execution by taking some simple accounting calculations. We assume that we are taking one trading business. We have listed some business transactions. Based on our assumption, what we assumed everything was cash transaction and everything is a mandatory transaction for the first month. We took our imaginary figures, we posted the accounting entries, we have prepared ledger accounts, we prepared trial balance, we prepared P&L, we also prepared balance sheet. We came to know that the accounting, the way it is executed manually, the way it is executed in any accounting application, whether it is SAP or any other, will remain constant, will remain fixed. If you know the basic accounting, if you are able to figure out what is your profit, what is your loss, what is your asset number, what is your liability number, same thing for the same number as it is you are going to get from SAP or any other application. In short, whatever the knowledge, whatever the understanding that you have on your accounting, it remains constant, it is fixed across all your accounting application. It is only that the technical point of or the technical part of that respective application you have to know. If you're talking about SAP, you must know the things related to SAP in order to perform accounting in SAP. You're not going to learn accounting in SAP, you are going to perform or you are going to map accounting in SAP. There is a huge difference between these two. Normally, if we feel or if we are under an impression that if I try to join SAP FICO course, I am not going to learn accounting because SAP FICO will not teach you accounting, correct? SAP FICO will require you to map accounting, which means before you do anything in SAP FICO, you must know what is accounting. Based on your understanding, you have to map accounting into the system. For that, accounting is a mandatory skill set before you learn SAP, before you start practicing or before you look at the SAP screen. If you know the accounting basics, if you look at the SAP screen, you will feel more comfortable, you feel more convenient by looking at the system. You don't find it difficult. Otherwise, right from the beginning, you find whatever I am doing, but I'm not understanding why I am doing. The main reason for most of the people why they feel that I am not understanding on what basis, for what purpose I am doing all these settings. I am just following the document, material and creating a configuration. The main reason is point number one, we do not understand accounting. Accounting will not even come into our mind. Point number two, we don't think about a requirement. We don't think why we are doing, what is our requirement, what are we trying to achieve from the system. If we are trying to think from these points, it is easy for us to understand why we are doing these kind of things in SAP, why system is behaving like this in the SAP. Otherwise, it will be a little tricky task, tricky part for us to understand how system is behaving. Because SAP does not know accounting, whatever the way you configure the system, in the same way it will start behaving. So in short, you are deciding how system has to behave from the accounting point of view. If it is working fine, your settings are fine. If it is not working fine, settings are not fine. Sometimes there may be some technical issues, but those things also you must be in a position to identify. These problems are not because of configuration. These problems are because of some technical issues. Okay, now let's try to understand something related to SAP FICO. So we understood accounting cycle or accounting flow manually. So how your accounting cycle happens or how your accounting flow happens in manual accounting. Now same thing, let's try to understand from SAP. So accounting in SAP FICO. So when we talked about accounting cycle or accounting flow, first thing that we have listed is business transaction. business transaction. Let me put a color to it. Let me put another color to it. Next one, we have listed accounting entry. After accounting entry, we have listed ledger accounts. After ledger accounts, we have listed trial balance. After the trial balance, we have prepared profit and loss statement. After P&L, we have prepared balance sheet. This was the cycle, or this is the flow that we have listed in the manual accounting, which we practically tested in the last session. Now, business transaction is common. There is no control for you on the business transaction. Based on the business transaction only, we are going to start the accounting cycle. This accounting entry, if you are doing a manual accounting, is it manual? We need to write it manually, or it comes automatically with some magic? Right? This is manual. You have to write accounting entry manually. Next, ledger account. Should we prepare this manually, or any miracle will happen if you are doing manual accounting?
No.
If you are doing manual accounting, ledger account will be prepared manually. Similarly, your trial balance is also prepared manually. Next one, your P&L account will also be prepared manually. Finally, your balance sheet is also prepared manually. In short, in your manual accounting, is everything manual activity or not?
Yes.
In your manual accounting, everything is manual activity. When it comes to SAP, so accounting flow remains common everywhere. Whether you talk about SAP or any other application, the flow remains constant. Business transaction is purely business oriented. You have no control over it. Now, accounting entry in SAP, is it manual or system will automatically pass the entry?
Manual.
This is manual. Okay. In SAP, this is your manual entry. Somebody will have to tell which account to be debited, which account to be credited, because system cannot identify which account to debit, which account to credit. You need to manually tell the system, take debit into this account, take credit into this account. When it comes to ledger account, is this manual or automatic? When it comes to ledger account, is it manual or automatic?
Automatic.
Your ledger accounts are automatic in SAP. Similarly, trial balance.
Automatic.
This is your automatic. P&L,
Automatic.
automatic. Balance sheet,
Automatic.
this is also automatic. In short, if you look at your manual accounting cycle, if you also look at your SAP accounting cycle, in manual, everything is manual activity. In your SAP FICO, only one thing is manual activity, which is your debit credit accounting entry. Correct? If you pass the accounting entry, just which account to be debited, which account to be credited properly, rest and all is taken care by the system. Agree? Correct?
Yes.
Because everywhere we have listed automatic. You don't need to know how ledger account is prepared. You don't need to know how trial balance is prepared. You do not need to know how P&L account is prepared and then how balance sheet is prepared, because these are not prepared manually in the SAP. These are all system driven reports. But yes, you need to know what is ledger, P&L, balance sheet, TB, in order to make sure that whatever the system calculated a number that you are getting is right. because whenever you're talking about accounting is always subject to validation, verification, correct? If I am doing accounting, I cannot say my accounting is correct unless and until this is validated or verified by the next person or the third person, internally or the externally. Internally, you will have a person called as internal audit team. Externally, you will have another person called external audit team. At the end of your fiscal year, at the end of your financial year, you need to get your financials audited by one of the auditing firm, one of the auditing company, in short, the chartered accountant. So they will verify your financials, they will verify your accounting, they will make sure whether you have performed all the accountings properly, all the ledger account balances, whatever you are showing are according to the prescribed rules and regulations by the respective accounting standards. If you follow Indian accounting standard, if you follow US accounting standard or IFRS accounting standard, according to the accounting standard, whether your accounting is done properly or not will be validated by external auditor, and based on that they are going to sign and put the attestation to the financial statement, in short your balance sheet. If this is not performed, banks will not activate your accounts, because in every company you have to submit your financial reports to the banks. Am I correct? Your yearly financial statements which are attested by the audit firm
Yes.
must be submitted to the banks. If you are not doing it on the time, banks will freeze your bank accounts. You will not be able to send any financial transactions from the bank account. So there are a lot of dependent things on your financial statement, which means if you prepare it, if report is coming out, that is not okay. It has to come out properly. For that, if you are working as a FICO consultant, you are responsible for everything. It is not that I am responsible only for the configuration, rest and all I do not know. That should not be the case. Even if it is the small understanding related problem, as a FICO consultant, you have to step in, clarify the confusion of your user or of your client. In case if the auditing is going on, if the auditor wants certain clarifications, what control points do you have in the system? Let's say auditing is going on, your external auditor is asking what are the control points that you have built in your system to avoid these kind of mistakes. Now your client cannot answer this. Your client will tell, dear SAP FICO consultant, can you please advise on this? Or your client may simply tell, okay, this is a technical point, so I will not be able to answer this. I will schedule a meeting with our SAP consultant tomorrow morning. No surprise, you may receive a meeting invite for tomorrow morning 10 o'clock with the external auditor or the auditor asking you to explain the control points that are built in the system from finance point of view. And you must be in a position to answer. You cannot say, no, sorry, this is not related to me. I am only concerned about config. You cannot say this. So you must answer, you must understand what they mean by asking this kind of a question. What is their expectation from you? So for us to understand, for us to answer all these kind of questions, or at least to communicate, to give some convincing answer, we must have at least some basic knowledge, basic understanding about SAP FICO. Okay, so in short, this is about your accounting cycle for manual, accounting cycle for FICO. In SAP FICO, is your accounting cycle easy or complicated?
Easy.
Because everywhere it is automatic. The only one point you cannot automate, because one has to decide where to debit, where to credit. Nobody can decide. To decide whether to debit or to credit, you must know basic accounting knowledge. Agree? Correct? To decide whether to debit or to credit, I need basic accounting knowledge, and to decide certain postings, to validate certain things that are coming from your configuration as a consultant, as a FICO consultant, even before you go and discuss, even before you go and sit with your user, you need to have some kind of information with you that you can explain, you can convince your user or your client. It is not that you will be working only on the config. Now, why I am stressing repeatedly on configuration, I'll come to that point shortly. Any questions on this accounting cycle manual, accounting cycle SAP FICO?
Sir, can I ask something?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Sir, may I know what are the control areas, as you said earlier, about what we have to be follow as a FICO consultant? So, can you just can you provide us an example? What are the control areas which we have to be follow?
Let's say I am posting an entry now. If I'm posting an entry, can I post entry in any day?
No,
No.
sir. It should be on current date.
It should be on current date. Point number one, it should be on current date. Point number two, it has to be in the current month. Within the current month, you can use any date for certain transactions. Within the current month, you have to strictly use current day for certain transactions. Let's say I am depositing money from bank, or I am depositing money in bank, or I am spending money for something. Can I record that entry by using money today with tomorrow's date?
No, sir.
No. Now I am selling something to a customer. I am selling something to a customer, but I am giving the customer backdated invoice. Can I do that?
No, sir.
Let's say I am making payment to a vendor, but I am making a duplicate payment. Can I do it?
No.
Now my vendor outstanding is 1000 rupees. I am able to pay 5000 to him. Can I do it?
Yes, sir. We can make a partial payment to vendor.
No, my vendor outstanding is 1000 only.
Okay, sorry, sorry. No, sir, not possible.
Right? So
If something is
system
any
will
over.
allow you to, yes, system will allow you to all these kind of things, provided you have no controls. But you need to stop these kind of things, right?
Okay, okay, sir.
All right. Let's say same invoice I am creating two times. If system is allowing me to create same invoice two times, I will end up making payment two times.
Absolutely.
Right? Let's say I want certain users not to access a certain data. Let's say I have payroll related information. I have the vendor accounts which are related to employees, or I have vendor accounts related to management. Let's say CFO is a vendor, CEO is a vendor. Every employee is treated as an employee, sorry, as an employee vendor,
Absolutely.
right? So they may be taking salaries, they may be taking certain loans, or company may be making certain payments to them. If I'm able to open vendor line item report, I can check any vendor account balance. Now, is there any transparency? Is there any confidentiality in the data? There are certain things which are to be kept confidential, the authorization or the access to be restricted. Getting my point?
Yeah,
So
getting
these
point.
kind of
But
processes will have to be documented somewhere. And if this is the process and these are the ways that people can manipulate the process, people can bypass this. There is no checkpoint. What are the control points that this process cannot be deviated? Do you have any validations? Do you have any checkpoints in the system that will not allow user to do this? Or are we giving any error messages, any warning messages to the user when they perform certain things which are not supposed to happen as per company's policy or as per accounting policy? If system is allowing, whose fault it is this the user fault or is this the system fault?
it's a system fault.
The system's fault.
Right? If system is allowing, it's a system fault. Now, what are the control points that you have to avoid certain mistakes? So these are the system checkpoints that every auditor will ask in every audit. In order to control the errors, what control points you have built in your system? So your client may be able to tell, your client may not be able to tell. Otherwise, your client, what they will tell, they will simply tell, okay, we have already informed SAP team, they are working on it. Can you show me an email that this control point is initiated, your SAP team is working on it? Then if they have sent an email, they will tell that this has been sent to SAP consultant, last month. Okay, is this development completed? If yes, anybody tested? What is the requirement? What is the proposal that you've got? They may get into different levels, because this may be from your internal auditing team, this may be from external auditing team also. So in order to understand these control points, first we need to understand the standard business process, correct?
Yes.
Is that right? If I know
Yes,
this
sir.
is what my
Yes.
standard business process, then I will decide, okay, this process can be manipulated by this, or user can bypass, or system is not stopping by doing all these kind of things. Let's say simple example, I got a customer, who placed the order for 10 quantity. I got a customer who placed the order for 10 quantity, but I am able to deliver 25 quantity to him. Is this right or wrong? Customer
It's
order
wrong, sir.
shows 10 quantity, but I am able to deliver 25 quantity also in the system.
Wrong.
Yeah, it's
This is
wrong,
wrong.
sir.
System should not allow more than your quantity that is placed on the order. But in
But sir,
default, yeah,
yeah, sorry. Yeah, but the
go ahead.
system, but sir, the issue is that these are all the prerequisite raised by the management, like a company. Like as a FICO consultant, we have to be provide them the solution how to put a restriction on these. But all the list has to be maintained by the management, as per my understanding. Am I right or wrong, sir? We
Now,
know
are
how
we
to
going
handle it.
to, right, are we going to work, or are we getting into the project as a fresh candidate or as an experienced candidate?
Yeah, as a experienced candidate,
Experience.
sir.
As an experienced candidate. Now, when you're working for a particular project, let's say you're working on an implementation project. Now, who has experience, who has knowledge, understanding on SAP, a FICO consultant or the business user or a client?
Sir,
Consultant.
as a FICO consultant.
FICO consultant. Let's say I am a client, I purchased SAP. Now, I am under an impression that SAP being such an expensive application, I am under an impression that SAP has all the controls by default. Yes or no?
Yes.
I must be talking to some of my counterparts or some of the competitors or some of my colleagues that they are also using SAP in their organization. All these kind of mistakes are not possible using SAP and all. By talking to them, by listening to all these kind of things, I got tempted. I purchased SAP. Now, when I tell the consultant or when I talk to the consulting team, they may tell that, okay, we will implement standard SAP. We will implement standard SAP. I am under an impression that all these checkpoints, all these control points are built in SAP by default. But are these built in by default, or these are to be enabled based on the requirement?
This must be
First of
inbuilt, sir.
all, is SAP ready to use application or not?
No, it's not.
It's ready to use, sir.
SAP is not a ready to use application. When you purchase SAP, none of your information is available on SAP. So whatever is your information, right from your company name until whatever is required to generate the balance sheet of your organization, everything will have to be created from the scratch in SAP. It is as simple as that. You purchased an open land, you wanted to construct a house. You have purchased an open land, you wanted to construct a house. So when you purchase the land, you will not get the house is a separate activity and you cannot construct it. You have to depend on a builder. Now to the builder would have built so many houses before, correct?
Yes.
Obviously you will not give contract to a builder who says, sir, I am a fresh engineer, I am going to build your house so beautifully, everybody will get shocked by looking at your house. Will you be okay with that builder?
No, sir.
No.
You will not, no matter how expert he is, you are not going to believe in him, because you need a builder who has already constructed certain houses. Now when he is constructing, there are different ways. It is your choice what you want, where you want, what position. You need to sit and discuss. Builder will have to propose you, builder will have to give suggestions, or he has to keep quiet, whatever you tell, blindly do it and then go.
The builder has to provide us a suggestion also.
Right? Builder has to provide the suggestion solution. If you tell that, because you are not aware, you may tell that, okay, we will build this gate, we'll put bed here, or we'll put kitchen here, we will put staircase here, or we'll put some storage space here. He will tell, if you put this, it will not be good. You have to tell that I have constructed multiple houses so far, but nobody constructed like this. Everybody is preferring like this nowadays. Then you also feel this, okay, if this is not good, you also start thinking in a different way. But for that, you need ideas to be provided, and whatever ideas you have will have to be validated and then confirmed by the other person whether it is right or wrong. Correct? Huh?
Yes.
Now these suggestions, recommendations will have to be provided, given by the FICO consultant. In short, we have to give, because it is straightforward upfront. When we tell that I have no experience on FICO, the other person is not interested in us. Agree?
Agree, sir.
The moment you tell I have no experience, the other person is not interested in it, no matter how experienced knowledge you have. Nobody is going to validate whether you really have experience or not, but everybody is going to trust you. The moment you tell that I am an experienced, I am trusting you. That's it. Now my trust is based on your knowledge. My trust is based on our conversation. The way you talk to me, the way you propose the solutions to me, the way you solve my problems, I am going to believe in you. Yes, he is a good candidate, he is a good consultant. Correct? Huh?
Yes.
Am I really stepping in and then checking, show me your experience later, tell me the contact number of your previous colleague and all? Will anybody do that? I am only concerned about whether you are able to meet my requirement, whether you are able to solve my problem, whether you are able to give good solutions to me or not. If you are able to do it, you are well and good. You will manage anywhere. But if not, that is where the problems will get created. Right?
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
So in short, the reason why we are talking about all this, we need to think from all the perspectives so that you will get a broader idea, clear understanding about what exactly you need to know, what exactly you need to understand when you learn SAP FICO. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. So next one, what I will write here is, I will write data flow in SAP FICO. When I say data flow in SAP FICO, I just mean what will happen in SAP FICO. If you are working as a FICO consultant, normally how your work will happen, in which sequence, in what order your things will get placed in your organization or in your project. Normally you are going to have, point number one, you will be having business requirement. Point number two, based on the business requirement, you will perform configuration. Based on the configuration, you will be creating master data. Based on the configuration master data, you are going to post transaction. Based on your transactions, you are going to generate various reports. Is this correct? And after that, it's a continuous support and improvements. Support and improvement. Is this correct? You're working as a FICO consultant. This is what you will be dealing with on a daily basis. Yes, no?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, yes.
So first thing that you are going to have is the business requirement. Before you log into SAP, you must know, you must understand what is the business requirement of your client. Or if you are practicing, you should have your own understanding. According to your understanding, make a business requirement, make an example. Okay, I want to do this. What do you want to do? You want to practice SAP. In SAP, what do you want to practice? You need to take a business scenario, you need to take a business requirement. Assume that you are going to work on GL, you are going to work on AP/AR. What exactly you want to do on AP or AR? Accordingly, you need to think, okay, if this is my requirement, how I am going to do this? If this is the requirement, how I am going to meet this requirement? How do I understand the requirement first? Based on my understanding, how do I do the configuration? Let's say you did the business requirement study, you are able to understand the requirement, then you have done the configuration. Once configuration is done, you need to create master record. Based on the config, you are going to create required master record. Once the master record is created, you are going to create transaction data. Once the transactions are created, you are going to generate reports to check if your report is working properly or not. Because report is the tool to validate whether it is right or wrong. Correct? Report is the tool to verify whether it is right or wrong.
Yes, sir.
Next one. Based on the report, let's say if something is wrong, you need to provide support. If there is any additional things that they require, you need to provide the support and the improvements. Now your support and improvement is ongoing process for any client who is working on SAP. Now when you see this, is the flow clear? Is that sequence clear? You must remember this sequence in the same order. Okay. Now majorly whoever learns SAP FICO, they will be talking about configuration. Whoever learns SAP FICO, majoritarily people will be talking about configuration, configuration, configuration. I want material, I want document, I want step-by-step screenshots. Agree? Yes, no?
Sir,
Yes.
Right? Whoever learns SAP FICO, the first thing that comes in majority of the people's mind is, I want material, I want notes, I want a document, I want step-by-step screenshots. It is all related to configuration, but is configuration straightforward or configuration is dependent on business requirement?
dependent
Dependent
business
on business
requirement.
requirement.
Configuration is dependent on business requirement. So now tell me, should we directly focus on configuration or we should focus on configuration based on the business requirement?
Based
Based
on
on
business
business.
requirement.
Right? Even when you're learning SAP FICO, even when you're practicing, it is always recommended you practice based on the business requirement. Do not assume that currently I'm not working, so when I'm in the project, automatically client will give me the business requirement. But at that time, you will not be able to understand what your client is talking to you. Unless you start practicing in a right way from the beginning, it is very, very difficult for us to get adjusted with the real environment. Because the way you look at the system, the way you practice, the way you work in the real environment is different. Now you need to create the same environment. The way you work, the way you get configuration documents, the way you get the requirement, in the similar way, you need to make all these things available from your side. You have to start thinking from a proper consultant. If you are working in a project, how you are going to do these things. In the exact way, you have to talk about the different requirements. In the exact way, you have to think from the business point of view. It is not about completing the configuration, it is about understanding the business requirement. If you are able to understand the business requirement, configuration will come automatically because you know what you want to achieve from the system, you know what you want to see from the system. Unless you see what you wanted, you will not be convinced, you will not be okay. Agree? If I know what I want, if I
Yes.
know what I want to practice, if I know what I want to see from the system, unless I see what I am expecting from the system, I will not be okay with it. I will realize that, okay, something I am doing wrong. I will start doing research. I'll start doing different experiments on the system. correct? Because I have something in my mind which I want to execute on the system. So if you do not have certain things, certain examples on your mind when you are practicing, especially, that is not going to help us tomorrow. Tomorrow, if it is not helping us today, we are not supposed to put more efforts on it. You should put efforts today to see the result tomorrow, because tomorrow people are going to ask you what you have done, not how you will do it. No question in your interview is generic. Every question in your interview is personalized question. Correct? Am I correct?
Yes.
Instead of
Yes.
asking how you will do this, they will ask you, did you work on this? If yes, what did you do? How did you do? What was the requirement? Did you face any challenges? Such kind of a questions you will get in your interview. When you know this is the reality in the market, when you are learning, you have to personalize everything to your experience. If you are really working on this particular topic, how you are going to do this, who will give you this, how you will decide what to be created, on what basis this is created. Now when you practice, normally what we do the configuration and then we will leave it there. We will test it, but we will leave it there. We only see as bits and pieces. Agree with me? Whenever you practice, do we practice bits and pieces, or we practice in a sequential order by linking one process to the other process? Majoritarily what will happen?
Bits and pieces.
We will be configuring in bits and pieces. Let's say I show you one configuration today, or I teach one topic today. I will tell, according to me, this topic is completed from your course curriculum, from your course syllabus. According to me, it is completed. According to you also it is completed, because you practiced it. But at the end of your course, you have multiple bits and pieces that you have accumulated. Will you be able to frame everything into a structure? Is it easy or difficult if you do everything in bits and pieces?
It will be difficult.
If you do things in a bits and pieces way, it is very difficult for us to frame a picture at the end. Now, SAP is all interrelated or interconnected. It is not independent. It's all dependent. If you are doing a setting, this setting will have connections with so many other settings. If you make changes in the other setting changes might reflect or might have an impact on some other setting. Now you need to understand what settings are creating impact on my settings. This is possible only when you understand on what basis we are making configurations. Now whatever I am talking now will lead to unnecessary confusions, but these confusions are required. Alright, whatever we are talking now will lead to confusions, but these confusions are mandatory to understand, to come out of the confusion, to understand what is needed from your side to learn SAP FICO. Let's say, now I will talk about certain things. Let me talk about something called baseline configuration.
So I have a question
If
here.
I, yes,
So when you connect with the client, so how we are going to collect the business requirement? Is there any standard flow is there? How we are going to collect? So
standard
like
business requirements, standard process, you mean to say?
yes, standard. Is there any standard documents will be maybe will provide the like business blueprint wise, or we are going to like what I'm my question is, when you first time nobody don't have any documents, and we met the we connected with the clients, they are explaining the their accounting process, and we collected some data, but how we are going to exact map in the data flow wise, means standard sequential wise, is there any standard document?
Okay, so before I answer this question, let's say that your point is mostly connected to an implementation project or a rollout project, correct?
Yes, first greenfield only.
Okay, let's say we are planning to implement SAP FICO for a particular client, wherein I am SAP FICO consultant, you are not SAP FICO consultant. Okay, your client, I am consultant. Now you are working in the project, or sorry, you are working in your organization, let's say for last 5 years or 10 years or 3 years. Now you are aware of your business process.
Yeah.
Right. Now, when you talk about the business process, you will be talking about your GL, AP, AR, assets, taxes, these kind of things. Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Now, when I'm talking about my SAP FICO, I am also talking about GL, AP, AR, asset, taxation. Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Accounting is common point between you and me as a consultant, as a client.
Yeah.
Now, as a client, you do not know how SAP works. Agree?
Yes.
Now, if you start explaining this is what our process is, I will not understand as a consultant. Correct?
Correct.
If I talk, this is SAP FICO, you have chart of account, tell me company code, tell me which controlling area you want, tell me which group currency you want, tell me what is your chart of depreciation, how many account groups you want, you will not understand if I talk these points. Agree?
Correct. Correct. Yes.
Now, you know accounting, I also know accounting. The only common point is I am at higher side because I am from technical background. Agree?
Okay.
Now, what I need to do, I need to show you standard SAP system to you. Because you know
Okay.
how GL accounts are used, you know how vendor accounts are used, you know how taxes are posted, how fixed assets are used, how various other reports are generated. So as a
Yeah.
FICO consultant, I have to sit with you, I have to take you through the standard SAP functionality. This is how GL module works, this is how GL master is created, and you will be able to see the total GL list here. You can pass entries like this. It is possible to make corrections once the entries are posted. If a data is created, it is not possible to get deleted. Not everybody can change everything. You can put lot of restrictions. And in the AP, this is how it will work. You can generate automatic payment programs, manual payments. You can generate bank letters. You can print checks. On the taxation, system will automatically calculate the taxes. It will automatically prepare a tax report, and you can calculate your due date analysis by different aging reports. All these kind of things, as a FICO consultant, I have to show to you at the beginning before I ask your business requirement. Agree?
Yeah.
Once you look at the standard SAP process, you will come to know, okay, this is how SAP is working. Accordingly, you will give me the requirement that I want, because I want to take the business requirement according to SAP standards. Correct?
Mm-hmm. So, is this business requirement client will give the document level or only in the meeting levels? How
In the
how
meeting
we will
level,
get?
you will configure one sample or dummy company code in the test server. In every organization, you will have
Mm,
test servers.
correct.
In
Correct.
that test server, let's say you are going to implement for a client. Now you need to know what is this client, whether is he a trading client, is this a manufacturing client, is this a service industry, and all. Accordingly, you will come to know what will be the generic business process. The major business process from the finance point of view is common for everybody. Correct?
Okay. Mm,
So this common business process is what you have to show to your client. Accordingly, they are going to give you the requirement. Okay, this is what is my requirement. This is how SAP will work. They will get an idea.
okay.
Clear? So at the beginning,
Yeah.
as a consultant, you have to step in, you have to take the lead. So we cannot say
Oh.
that give me the requirement, only then I will work. Then we are revealing what we are.
Mhm.
You're getting my point, right?
No, no, I'm not getting this.
Let's say, okay, I'll talk about these points shortly. There you'll understand what I mean by this.
Source. Oh, fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So if you're talking about baseline configuration, normally what we will do, we will be talking about company, you will be talking about company code, you will be talking about chart of accounts, you will be talking about fiscal year, you will be talking about posting period, something like this. There will be a list of settings that are to be created, as part of your baseline configuration or initial enterprise structure or initial organization structure or initial global parameters or global settings for a newly created company code. When you look at this, when we create a company, normally I'm not talking about everybody, I'm talking about general practice. Let's say I am learning SAP FICO. I taught you how to create a company. Now it is simple. By looking at the company creation, you understood, okay, this is how company is created. It is very easy. Within 5 minutes, I'm able to create a company. What I will do, I will follow the same steps. I will create 5 companies. I feel that I understood how to create a company. Next one, I will show how to create a company code. Then this also you understood. You started creating 5 company codes. Chart of accounts also I will show you. Then this also you understood. You started creating 5 chart of accounts. Everything you started 5 company codes. Everything you started creating 5 company codes or 5 settings. Initially, do we find it easy, simple or not?
Yes.
Because I am going to show bits and pieces. When I say bits and pieces, today I will show you how to create company, how to create company code. I will tell this is how these are created. You practice in the same way. So you also create the same company codes. You may be free. You will create 5 company codes. If you are a little occupied working, you may create 2 to 3. Similarly, all the companies that you are going to create, whatever the settings that I cover as part of baseline configuration. Here, I am not able to show you everything in single day. It is not possible. Agree with me? I cannot show all the settings. Let's say if there are some 30 steps. Just an example. If there are some 30 steps in the baseline configuration, I will be taking at least 1 week for this. Yes, no? Minimum I'm telling.
Yes, sir.
I will be taking at least 1 week to explain all these 30 steps, to show all these 30 steps. Now in 1 week, all the 30 steps, whatever I did in a 1 week time. In this 1 week time, whatever I did, you may practice on a daily basis. You may not practice on a daily basis. You may be up to date with the practice. You may not be up to date with the practice. Correct? All scenarios are possible.
Yes.
All scenarios are possible, assuming that I am able to practice on a daily basis. When I am practicing on a daily basis, I am limiting my understanding only towards that particular day's settings, or I am able to link with today's topics with previous topics. What normally happens?
Link.
When you practice, are you going to practice whatever is taught today, or are you going to connect why this is like this, what is the connection between this and previous 3-4 less session topics? When you practice, I mean,
Practice on the basis of current, like today's session.
that majoritarily we will be practicing whatever is taught today. If I teach, let's say, some 3 settings, you are going to practice 3 settings. Now today you will add 3 settings. Every day I am adding 3 settings, 4 settings, 5 settings. Now, are you accumulating all the settings, or you are configuring on that day, you are leaving on that day? What generally happens?
Whatever we
Because
taught
every day
on
I am
this
going to teach
particular day.
something. Correct? When I am teaching, every day I am going to add something new. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
But are we moving forward? Are we accumulating all these daily topics on a daily basis? And are we able to connect every point? Why this topic? Why after this topic? What is the connection between this and this? And are you able to understand yourself first, and then are you able to explain these completed topics in a sequential way, in a convincing way to your friend? Forget about your interviewer. To your friend, are you able to configure and then show and then explain? Something difficult to answer. It depends on you, the way you practiced, the way you learnt, the way you guided. correct? Or it is common for anybody? What will happen?
Perhaps most of them it is difficult to collect all classes at a time. Maybe
Right?
the
It is
topic
practically,
wise.
if you talk, it is
Yeah,
difficult.
yeah,
Practically, if you talk, it is difficult. Now, if you talk practically, majoritarily your course, everybody will tell 90 days on an average, in short, 3 months. But currently, most of the people are telling this is within 60 days, within 75 days, within 45 days also, correct?
Yes, sir.
Majoritarily, you will be hearing within 45 days your course will be completed, within 60 days, within 90 days. But in reality, how many days I said it will take for you to understand what is SAP, what is happening in SAP FICO? Up to what days?
30 days.
After 30 days.
Takes up to 30 days it will take for you to understand what is happening in SAP FICO. If you want to see
Yes.
it FICO practically, it takes 1 month. It takes 1 month because you need to see the overall. It's not that I show you only the top, these are the settings, this is how you do it, and then I start making you feel so comfortable, so easy. Later on, when I start the actual topics, when I start the actual processes, I will be obviously in a hurry. I will be obviously in a hurry because I want to complete in 90 days or I wanted to complete in 45 days. Whatever you ask me, whatever you question me, I will tell, refer the material, refer the document, refer the video. And will you be able to ask me, will you be able to understand what I am teaching if you do not know what we discussed in the previous sessions? Is this practically possible?
Mm, no.
To talk practically, it is not possible unless you have no other work. You are completely dedicated the whole day to the SAP FICO. You're not working currently. You have decided that completely you are attending like one classroom training morning to evening, then it may be possible. But is that the situation with us?
No.
It is not the situation. You may be working already. You may be taking care of different other works. Parallelly, you are learning SAP. Correct? Majoritarily, we will
Yes.
take up the course parallelly to what we are doing on a daily basis. Agree?
Agree, sir.
In this situation, is this possible for us to understand in one sitting, one topic, or not possible?
Mm, not possible.
I'm talking about understanding. I'm not talking about configuring. So understanding is different. Practicing is different. To show you
Yes.
practically, let me log into SAP. Let's say I'll go to one screen, something like company code creation. So while telling you, or let's say while teaching you, I may be explaining what is company code and all. Then to do the config, I will tell click on new entries, put a 4-digit alphanumeric code. I will put something like this ABCD. Okay, then I'll put some company name here. I will put some city, I will put some country, I will put some currency, I will put some language. Then I will tell you need to fill up this information and I will tell you need to click on save. You will get this pop-up. Here again you will put the information. You click on save. I'll tell you click on save after giving this information. Now I am going to tell you get a request like this on the screen. Click on OK. Company code is created. How long did it take to create a company code? 1 minute or 5 minutes? Hardly 1 minute,
Not up to, but 1 minute.
right? Let's say approximately 1 or 2 minutes it took. Now, do you understand why did I take this ABCS?
No.
Did I tell you why I took ABCS? When you practice, if you try to take same ABCS, it will throw an error. But what are you going to take? If you take ABCS, I will put ABCD or ABC1, ABC2. Why are you taking ABC1? If you put company name, can you put any name that comes in your mind?
No.
City, on what basis? We all know how to, you have to type a city there. You all know you need to put a country currency here, which means even if I do not teach you, by looking at the screen, by clicking on new entries, you get to know more than 50% what is to be done on the screen. Yes or no? More than 50% whatever is appearing on the screen, you will be able to understand. Agree? Correct? If you come to the screen, if I add another new entry, by looking at this screen, do you understand anything or you are completely blank?
You understand some things.
Right? You understand certain things, that you can relate certain things. Okay, here I need to mention company name, here I need to put city, here I need to put country, currency, language. You are able to understand what information to be given in respective fields. Majoritarily, maximum, more than 50% you will easily understand. But what you need to understand here is how and why you are doing this. How do you decide that what company code to be given here? Who will tell you when you are in a project? Is it your choice that I will tell you that your name starts with R, I will put some company name with R? Will it be okay? No, you take some fancy code like this, it is not okay. You need to discuss and then you need to decide. Correct? And you have to be logical, or you can take anything that comes at that particular time. So you need to think logically that what code you need to give, how this is going to use, how this will be used in different other scenarios. Yes or no? Or if I create this company code, is my purpose fulfilled? If I create a company code, I can create, it's easy for me, I can create 10 company codes in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Does that mean I understood how to create a company code?
No.
If somebody is asking me, you have to create a company code, on what basis you will decide a company code is created? What points you will be considering before you create a company code? But if I have to ask you, how do you create a company code, you tell me the configuration step, easy for us to tell. Go to this transaction code, input company code, company name, city, country, currency, language. Anybody will tell this. Nothing new in this that you are learning, nothing new that I am teaching. But you need to understand on what basis you are going to create this company code, how you will decide how many company codes to be created. What is the naming convention that you are using? Which naming convention do we follow in the real environment if you are actually working in a project? On what basis these naming conventions are used? These points, for you to understand, it takes time. These points, if you want to understand, it will take time. With this approach, you will not be able to complete your course in 60 days. In fact, not in 90 days. Even 90 days are not sufficient if you want to learn in such a way that you will understand what you are doing and why you are doing. You're getting my point, right? If you only want to know the configuration, you can learn within 1 month also. I said 30 days to make you understand, to make you feel comfortable what is happening in SAP FICO. In the same 30 days, you can complete your SAP FICO course also. Both are possible. Both are possible, but it depends on you which way you want to adopt. You want to complete the course to apply for a record that I completed within 30 days, you can opt 30 days course, you can opt 45 days course. But if your intention is to tell that I learnt SAP FICO with which I will be able to gain, or I'll be able to get SAP FICO job, then 30 days, 60 days, 90 days are also not sufficient. Because tomorrow when you want to get into the market, you cannot get into the market with fresh or with fresher knowledge. You must get into the market with experienced knowledge, with experienced thinking ability. Correct? If you really worked on SAP FICO, what and how you will be working in the same mindset, in the same approach, you have to go and you have to talk to the other person. For that to happen, to gain at least 3 or 4 years of experienced knowledge, it is not possible to learn or to gain that within 3 months. Unless you sit dedicatedly every day, 3-4 hours. But is that practically possible? Is that practically possible? Are we so expert that whatever is taught today, we will complete it today, we will understand, we will remember? But keep in mind, every day you are going to add some more points. So your learning is keeps on accumulating or not every day, day by day. It keeps
Yes.
on accumulating, it keeps on adding additional concepts, additional configuration, additional settings. Are we so sure, are we so confident that every day I am able to remember all the points, and within my course completion, if 90 days is my course duration, 91st day I am ready with everything? After completing
No.
everything only, you want to practice again from top to bottom, correct? From start point to end
Yes.
point. You want to run one full cycle. When you are trying to do this one full cycle, you will start realizing the practical ground reality. When I did this particular configuration at the beginning, I was able to do it. But now, because of that setting which I did incorrectly, the other settings are not working. If your basic settings are not correct, the remaining topics, the remaining settings, whatever you do, will not work. Even if they work, you will not be able to achieve what you want to see, because your settings are wrong. If your settings are wrong, certain things are not possible. When certain things are not possible, we try to convince ourselves that this is the practice server, this is the practice environment. In practice, in training, certain things will not work, but in real time, everything will work. This is an excuse. Anybody heard these kind of statements? In test server, in practice environment, certain things will not work, but in real time, everything will work. Anybody heard like this?
Yes, sir. Sometimes the dump has been arising for the normal standard T codes also.
Right. But are we able to understand why this is coming? What is the reason behind this? Are we able to cross verify what settings we have made, whether our settings are properly defined or not? If everything is properly defined, why error is coming? Do we think from this point? Or we leave it assuming that my settings are correct, I know the settings properly, I remember the settings in sequential order, it is okay. Even if it is not working, that is fine. That is how most of the people will get convinced, and then they will move forward to the next topic. But that is wrong. That is wrong. If you are not seeing the output, if you are not seeing the proper picture on the system, do not believe that this is how it works in reality. If you see, if you are convinced, only then believe it. If you are not seeing, whatever the content you have, whatever the theoretical knowledge that you have, relate this to a practical example. Only then you try to believe it, only then you try to trust, okay, this is how it will work. Otherwise, please do not. Even if I tell, do not trust me also. Because tomorrow when you are talking about certain things, the other person should not tell you that this is not the way that it is used. So such kind of situations, such kind of scenarios are very, very bad that anybody wants to face. Correct? When you talk about something so confidently, the other person straight away tells, no, this is wrong. This is not the way we use it. This is not the way it is configured. Will you be okay with that statement? Will you be okay with that feedback from anybody? You explain something, but the
No.
other person is telling, no, this is wrong. Upfront, they are telling on your face, no, this is not the way we use it. Or the other person is asking you, please explain me, taking one example. tell me the accounting flow of it, convince me with one practical scenario. But at that stage we will start struggling. At that stage we start realizing, okay, if I'm talking about the way that I'm talking, it is not sufficient, the other person is not getting convinced, which means I am missing something. Now this is all because we learn only the configuration, or we focus only on the configuration. You focus only on the configuration. Now if I go top, this is what we did yesterday. We took some trading business, some basic transactions we took. Now is it easy to see and is it easy to prepare the financial statement until balance sheet, or it is difficult?
Easy.
Now is this a valid scenario or invalid scenario if you talk from accounting point of view? Initial starting basic accounting point of view, is this a valid scenario or not?
Yes, valid.
Yeah,
Right.
valid.
Now if I tell you that please create a company code and show me these numbers from SAP FICO, I will tell you create one company code and I will tell you which company code to be created. Let's say for example you create a company code with TB10, trading business 10, or I will tell TRBU will be your company code. Please configure this and show me this trial balance P&L balance sheet number from SAP FICO. How long do you take for it? If you do it manually, you are able to do it within half an hour, hardly 1 hour, correct? But same numbers I want you to display on SAP FICO by creating a new company code. How long do you take? First of all, do we know what settings to be made to bring this number?
No.
Not actually.
Right now, if I tell you to show me how do you configure baseline configuration, show me how do you configure accounts payable receivable, fatafat you will show me, correct? This is the setting, this is the part, this is the T code. But the moment I give you like this a requirement, I want the same number but for the same amount and the same result I want to see on SAP. There you will start realizing, okay, I am not able to do this. If I want to pass this entry, what settings I need to make? I want you to create only the settings that are required to bring this number, nothing additional. If some setting is not required to do this, don't do it. But do you decide based on this what settings are needed, what settings are not needed?
No.
No, right? Majoritarily no, because the way we practice, the way we look at the system, the way we understand is different. But in real time, when you're in a project, this is how you get the things. You will get a requirement in front of you on a piece of paper, nicely drafted and given to you by your client. They will neatly write the SOP or process manual, standard operating procedure. They will share it with you. Please find the attached business process requirement. This is the current business process of so and so company, and this is our expectation from SAP. Please come up with a solution to meet our business requirement. Will you be in a position to understand the business requirement, propose a solution according to their requirement?
No.
Because there is your configuration going to help you.
No.
First thing, you need to understand what they are talking about, their existing business process, correct? You need to understand
Yes.
what they are talking about, their existing business process, and what are the problems, issues, challenges that they are facing in the current business process, how they want the business process to be modified or amended. And to do this, what corrections or what suggestions you are going to provide from SAP point of view, from SAP FICO point of view. This is where you have to work. This is how you have to work. This is how you have to see SAP FICO right from the beginning. Only then it is possible for you to understand, or at least or at least to meet the expectation of your interviewer. At least the other person should feel that yes, I can take him considering his understanding, considering his knowledge. Now for that to happen, the way you practice, the way you look at the system right from the beginning must be different. Nobody is going to ask you what is the full form of SAP. Nobody is going to ask you what is the full form of ECC. Nobody is going to ask you who implemented SAP, how many years old SAP is, what are the advantages of ERP, who are the competitors of SAP. Do I need anything or do I get anything with this kind of knowledge from you in my interview for my project, or I need business process understanding of SAP FICO from you? What do I need?
Business process.
Business
You
process.
obviously need business process understanding. If I say that I know SAP, but the moment I go, I am expecting tell me the full form of SAP S4HANA, why it is S/4, what do you mean by HANA? These are all the simple basic theoretical points that one must know by Googling, not by paying money and then learning. This is a free content which is available by SAP on help.sap.com, or there are different portals of SAP. It's a free content that anybody can go and learn. For this learning, we are not supposed to pay, and then we are not supposed to learn these things which are freely available on the social media or on the Google. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So when you are paying amount, when you are learning something, we have to make sure, we have to be conscious that whatever I am learning is something that I get benefited out of it. It's not that okay, I'm able to get what is ERP better than what he is telling from the open market. Right, so such things we should not discuss. I'm not going to talk about those things. Whatever is straightforward, whatever is something that we can easily learn, theoretical part, that we will learn at the end. But initially, whenever you join a course, initially whenever you are trying to start your learning, you will be with fresh mindset. Please be on mute if you are not talking. Okay, whenever we are trying to learn, at the beginning we will be with fresh mindset. Correct? So you have that interest to do, you have that interest to put more efforts. Agree? Going forward, what will happen? Things will get accumulated. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So initially, if I am teaching you the things in an easier way, initially if I am telling you the things that are easy, simple, going forward, there are things which are difficult, there are things which are complex. Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
There are topics which are complex, there are topics which are difficult to understand. When those things come, that is where people will start getting scared. That is where people will start telling SAP is very difficult, it's very hard to understand, and even in interview they are asking all different questions, all difficulty questions. When you know that initially your mind is fresh, when you know that initially you have more interest, so that is where you are supposed to know the actual topics, correct? Which are going to benefit you in your interview, which are going to benefit you in your real environment. Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Later on, when you're progressing, you should find things are getting simplified, not complex, not complicated. If you start from easy process, you will end up reaching the complex situation. But if you start from the complex situation, there is no complex going forward, it's only simplification. So as days progress, as you practice, as you understand, you feel it is very simple, and you will be thinking that why everybody is telling is difficult. Because the way you talk, the way you explain will create the impact. That impact you should see practically when you talk to the other person. So as I said, you need to have a network of people who are working on SAP FICO, who are already learning, learned in job trials, whatever related to SAP FICO. Test, check your knowledge, whether you are learning from me or you are learning from anywhere. Test your knowledge, because tomorrow you have to get a job in SAP FICO. That is your target. Nobody is learning SAP FICO for time pass, or nobody is learning SAP FICO just for the namesake of learning, to tell somebody that I learned SAP FICO. Is it the purpose of anybody, or purpose of everybody is to get a job in SAP FICO?
Get a job.
Right? The purpose of everybody is to get a job in SAP FICO. Now, if that is your target, if that is your purpose, the way you should react, the way you should act is something which is different, because you have less time. You have only 3 months, or you have only 4 months. Within these 3 to 4 months, your target is to learn, understand, talk in such a way that the other person is impressed, and then get a job. Right from the day one, when you join a job, be in a position to work. Now, all these things are possible within 90 days or within 120 days, unless you have a proper plan, unless you have a proper guidance. Because normally, most of us, we don't think practically. We only think about completing a course in 90 days, completing a course in 120 days, or completing a course in 45 days. But what about after completing the course? Are we so sure, that are we so confident that whatever you learn in one day or in one sitting, you are able to understand, you are able to explain, you are able to work on it? Is that the case with everybody?
Yes.
Within a day, within one shot, you will be able to understand?
No, sir.
It
No.
will be no. Obviously no. 100% no for anybody. Even if you bring somebody who is so studious, not possible. Because this is not something that is a predefined content. You have to read and then you have to explain. It depends based on the business process. It depends based on the person. It depends based on the organization. Correct?
Yes.
And this requires your understanding first, how you are understanding the standard business process, and according to the respective business process, how you are able to relate your understanding to it. Whether you are able to convince the other person who is sitting next to you or not. You should always think, target about the person who is related to SAP. When you talk to a SAP person on any particular topic, are you able to convince the other person or not? Or if the other person is talking about SAP with you, are you able to understand or not? You should not say that no, this topic in my training we have not, this topic is not covered. These kind of things should not come in your mind. You should start thinking from an experienced candidate point of view. In the similar way, you have to learn. First, start knowing the things at high level. In short, what is what. Later on, you sit on it, try to understand, practice. But before that, you should know what is what. Otherwise, it's like blindfolded learning. So you do not know what it is, but you started practicing, and you do not know where it is used, how it is used, what is the accounting impact, financial impact of it, how this is actually used in the real environment. If these points are not clear to us, it is very, very difficult for us. As I said, there are 2 points: knowing SAP, learning SAP. If you want to know SAP, it's a different story. If you want to learn SAP, it's a different story. Agree? Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now we need to decide on what basis we have to know, we have to learn about SAP. Accordingly, we have to have a proper plan. Because without the proper plan, without the proper guidance, without the proper practice, without proper understanding, it is difficult to get a job in SAP. I am telling all these points at the beginning to make sure that you understand the reality. And the reason I tell all these points at the beginning is to make sure you understand the reality. Accordingly, you will take a decision. Okay. All right. Let me stop this recording.